the turbulent past between Pete Townshend and Roger Daltrey of The Who. At 81, Pete Townshend is finally breaking his silence, spilling the beans on the fights, betrayals, and brotherhood that defined their journey. This story is packed with drama and heart, and you're going to want to stick around for every second. Let's get into it. The Who burst onto the scene in the 1960s, a British invasion band that didn't just play rock, they detonated it. Pete Townshend's blistering guitar riffs and songwriting genius, Roger Daltrey's powerhouse vocals, John Entwistle's thunderous bass, and Keith Moon's wild drumming made them a force. Albums like My Generation, Tommy, and Who's Next were game changers, with hits like Bobo O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, and Pinball Wizard becoming anthems. They were known for smashing guitars, trashing stages, and living the rock and roll dream to the max. But behind the music, Pete and Roger's relationship was a powder keg, full of love, rivalry, and moments that nearly broke the band. Now, at 81, Pete's opening up about what really went down, and it's a story that'll hit you hard. Let's start at the beginning. Pete and Roger go way back, meeting as teenagers in West London in the early 60s. Pete was the brainy, artistic kid, obsessed with music and ideas. Roger was the tough guy, a working-class bloke with a voice that could shake walls. They formed The Who in 1964, and their chemistry was electric. Pete wrote the songs, and Roger brought them to life. Early hits like I Can't Explain and My Generation showed their magic, but even then, there was tension. Pete said in recent interviews that he and Roger were like oil and water from day one. Pete was the dreamer, always pushing the band to try new things, while Roger was the realist, focused on keeping things grounded. That push and pull made The Who special, but it also set the stage for years of conflict. So, what's the turbulent past Pete's talking about? At 81, he's been reflecting on his life, and he's not holding back. In a 2025 interview with Rolling Stone, Pete says the heart of their issues was a clash of personalities and visions. Pete saw himself as the band's leader, writing complex rock operas like Tommy and Quadrophenia that pushed rock into new territory. Roger, though, wasn't always on board with Pete's big ideas. He's admitted he didn't get Tommy at first, thinking it was too out there for fans. Pete said Roger's skepticism hurt, especially since he poured his soul into those projects. Roger, in turn, felt like Pete was trying to make The Who his personal art project, sidelining the band's raw, live energy that Roger loved. The tension wasn't just about music, it got physical. Pete's reveal that he and Roger came to blows more than once. One infamous fight happened in 1965 during a rehearsal. Roger was fed up with Keith Moon's drug use, which was making him unreliable, and he flushed Keith's stash down the toilet. Keith and Pete ganged up on Roger, and it turned into a brawl. Roger, who was a tough guy with a boxer's build, didn't back down. Pete said that fight was a wake-up call. They almost broke up right then. Roger left the band for a week, but came back after apologizing. Pete's admitted he respected Roger's guts, but also felt like he was always one wrong word away from another fight. Drugs and alcohol made things worse. The Who's wild lifestyle was legendary. Keith Moon was the poster child for excess, but Pete and Roger weren't saints either. Pete said he was drinking heavily and experimenting with drugs in the 60s and 70s, while Roger leaned on booze to cope with the stress of touring. The substances fueled their tempers. Pete's recalled a 1973 incident during the Quadrophenia tour when he and Roger got into a screaming match backstage over the setlist. Roger thought Pete's new songs were too complicated to play live, and Pete accused Roger of not trying hard enough. Things got so heated that Pete smashed a guitar, not for show, but out of pure frustration. Pete said those moments showed how much they care about The Who, but also how close they were to breaking. Another sore spot was control. Pete's recent comments reveal he felt like Roger was trying to take over the band in the 70s. After Tommy became a hit, Roger's confidence grew, and he started pushing for more say in the band's direction. He wanted to focus on straightforward rock, while Pete was diving into synthesizers and concept albums. Pete said he felt undermined by Roger's demands, especially since he saw himself as the band's creative engine. Roger, on the other hand, has said in old interviews that he was just trying to keep The Who true to their roots. This power struggle led to some of their worst fights. In 1975, during the Who by Number sessions, Pete and Roger barely spoke, communicating through bandmates. Pete's admitted he thought about quitting then, feeling like Roger didn't respect his vision. The loss of Keith Moon in 1978 was a turning point. Moon's death from a drug overdose at 32 hit the band hard. Pete said he and Roger grieved differently, which drove them further apart. Pete threw himself into writing, trying to process the loss through music, while Roger wanted to keep touring to honor Keith's spirit. They clashed over how to move forward, with Roger pushing for a new drummer, Kenny Jones, and Pete feeling like no one could replace Moon. Pete's recent reflections show he regrets how he handled that time. He said he was numb from drugs and grief, and he wishes he'd talked to Roger more openly. Rogers echoed that, saying in a 2020 interview that they lost each other after Keith died. The 80s were another rough patch. The Who broke up in 1982 after years of strain, and Pete said he blamed Roger for not fighting harder to keep the band together. Roger, meanwhile, felt like Pete was the one checking out, focusing on his solo career with albums like Empty Glass. When they reunited for Live Aid in 1985 and later tours, the old wounds reopened. Pete's revealed a 1989 argument where Roger accused him of using The Who as a cash machine for reunion shows. Pete fired back, saying Roger was just jealous of his solo success. Pete said those fights hurt because they showed how far they drifted from the kids who started the band together. Despite the drama, there's love in this story. Pete's confessions at 81 aren't just about the bad times. He's also talking about the bond that kept them going. He said Roger's voice is the soul of The Who, and he's never doubted his talent. Rogers returned the compliment, calling Pete a genius in a 2023 documentary. They've survived because they respect each other, even when they don't get along. Pete said their fights were like family arguments, messy but rooted in care. The Who's still active, with Pete and Roger touring as recently as 2022, and Pete's admitted he's grateful they stuck it out. He's called Roger his rock, even if they still bicker. What's the bigger picture? Pete's revelations show that The Who's magic came from the tension between him and Roger. Their clashes pushed them to create music that was raw, ambitious, and timeless. But it came at cost, years of hurt, mistrust, and near breakups. Pete's honesty at 81 is a gift to fans. It's a chance to see the human side of two legends who fought for their art and each other, even when it got ugly. It's a reminder that even the greatest bands are built on fragile, messy relationships. For fans, this story makes The Who's music hit harder. When you hear Behind Blue Eyes or Baba O'Reilly, you're hearing Pete and Roger's passion, pain, and stubborn love for what they built. Their story is a testament to the power of creativity and the chaos it can bring. Pete's courage to share this now at 81 shows he's still grappling with the past but proud of what they achieved. What do you think? Were you shocked by Pete's take on his fights with Roger? Who's your favorite member of The Who? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the conversation going. If you're loving these deep dives into music history, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe